Hello, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for tuning in to another spiritual adventure with me, your host, Ashley. You want to hear something funny? It might not be so much funny as like embarrassing for me, but I laughed. I thought it was funny. I just sat here. I spent the last 5 minutes trying to figure out where I wanted to put my microphone. I was moving it all over the place. And like finally I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna sit back and we're gonna start the episode because this isn't even that important. And then I realized the microphone wasn't even plugged in. And then I realized that I don't think the microphone was plugged in the last time I recorded an episode either. So fun fact, I was speaking into a microphone that was not on. The audio is so much better when I use this mic. So I'm glad I noticed that it wasn't plugged in and plugged it in. If you are watching this on Spotify or YouTube, you will see that I have some new little buddies here with me. I brought my plat. I brought my plant in. So she's over here. Her name is Sphinx. Love her. Can't believe she's still alive. I don't have a green thumb, so she is a testament to the magic of the universe. And then I've got Arthur over here. He turns inside out. He is an octopus wearing glasses, in case you're not watching this. And he's gray. He's cute and fluffy. And you can turn him inside out so that he's an angry octopus. I think he's supposed to be like a Harry Potter octopus because he's wearing the circular frames, and if you turn him inside out, he's got like a little symbol on his forehead. I'm not huge into Harry Potter either. Oh my God. I'm not huge into Harry Potty, but also I don't know a lot about Harry Potter either. Wow, okay. This is where we're at today. This is where we're at. I have my ginger tea to keep me grounded. Oh, so good. I feel like by the time I get around to actually speaking and recording these episodes, my drink gets cold. That's okay though. It's still good. I also have water, which I'm going to take a sip of. Because you can't be too hydrated, you know? Oh, I guess you can. You could die from overhydration. We're going to get into this episode. I'm being extra. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. I have my notes here because today we're going to be talking about misconceptions about the Akashic Records. And I'm going to be talking about some things that happen during readings that kind of show some of the misconceptions that people have. And so I really want to clear up some of this stuff so that people can come into readings, whether they're with me or other Akashic Records readers, with realistic, very grounded expectations for kind of what they're going to get out of the reading and I essentially kind of what to expect. I can't always tell you what to expect because every reading is different. The information comes through in different ways, and different types of information come through depending on the reading and depending on who is doing the reading, depending on the practitioner. The reading can be different because everybody has their own styles and their own gifts, and there are a lot of nuances to this. So I want to do a pretty general misconceptions overview and scrolling through. And then at the very end, I'm going to do some quick tips just to help you get the most out of your readings. And yeah, I'm going to share some anecdotes as always, because I do love me some stories. And I feel like it just helps to absorb the information better when you add like a real experience, real testimonial, a real story to the point. I enjoy that. So that's what we're doing. I'm the boss here. That's what we're doing. I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm not. I am the boss here. I'm running the show. Okay. So I need to do my intro though. I'm like, guys, you would think that my ginger tea was coffee right now. It's not, although I did have like 3 cups of coffee. That's neither here nor there. So if you are listening to this and you like it, if you are somebody who listens to all of the episodes, I would love to know about that. But just you listening right now is amazing. Love you for that. Thank you. Go ahead and reach out. Let me know. I would love to know that you're listening. So you can find me on TikTok. You can find me on IG. I have a YouTube channel too. I have not posted anything there yet as of recording this. I might actually have videos up by the time I post this, but yeah, reach out to me on social media. Send me an email, support@ashley.com. Actually, I think it's support@ashleybrickhouse.com. I don't email myself a lot, but I'm positive that that is the email address. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be an episode, guys. It's gonna be an episode. So yeah, reach out, let me know you're listening. I love hearing from you guys, and share if you know somebody who could benefit from this episode. If you really like the episode, please send it to people who you think it might help. I'm doing these episodes because I want to put this information out there to help people, and I would absolutely love for everybody to let's all be a community and just help each other. And also, fun little fact, I'm just going to be doing random fun facts today, apparently, because I think that's the second time I've said it in 5 minutes. So, random little fun fact number two, you can leave me voicemails now. Spotify has this thing. I actually think they're getting rid of it, but while it's still around, jump on it and go leave me a voicemail because that would be really cool. Apparently, if you navigate to the artist or authors page, I think they call artist page, but like if you go into a browser and you go to Spirituality with Ashley podcast for Spotify, on Spotify, and you do it through a browser and not the Spotify app, there's a button there that says send voice message, and it's on the podcast like main page. I think you can just any episode page, it's on there too. And you can leave a voice message. So that's really cool. You have all these avenues to reach out. So if you want to, where there's a will, there's a way. And I would love if you do want to leave me a voice message, you can leave me feedback about an episode. You can let me know what you want to hear about in future episodes. I'm here for ideas. I love it. Let's collaborate. And also, if you want to share your experiences or whatever, if you just want to send me a message and be like, hey, what up, Ashley? That would be cool too. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. My intro's just, man, rambling all over the place. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay. You can fast forward. Maybe I should put in the show notes that like the show actually starts at 7 minutes. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm gonna take one more sip before we jump into this. Get comfy, settle in, and let's have a conversation. All right. So Akashic Records readings are a topic that blends spirituality, metaphysics, and mysticism. And I'm going to define those things because I had to look up the definitions because I can stumble through explaining what each of them are, but I was like, no, I want to be really succinct in my explanation, or this episode would probably be like 2 hours long because I'll just talk. I'll talk about it. So metaphysics, when I looked up what metaphysics was, it specified it was like, okay, well, physics is the study of the universe from a mathematical perspective. It's a science, it's empirically based. You can test it. And honestly, I feel like you can test all of this stuff. So I would like to remove that you can test it. I don't feel like that's a point here. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that deals with existential questions about space, time, the difference between life and non-life, being and not being, and etc. And then mysticism is the belief that direct knowledge of God, spiritual truth, or ultimate reality can be attained through subjective experience. Subjective experiences like intuition or insight, your personal experience is what that is. Subjective experience is your personal experience. Means it's different for everybody. Objective experience would be more like everyone experiences this thing this way, and that's just not the case. And then spirituality, I feel like spirituality and mysticism are kind of used synonymously, so people will just interchange them when they're speaking, it seems like, which is fine. That's fine with me. We can do that here too. Spirituality, however, is so the definition that I found, because I'm going to read it to you. Spirituality involves the recognition of a feeling or sense or belief that there's something greater than yourself, something more to being human than the sensory experience of touching, feeling, smelling, tasting, seeing, and that the greater whole of which we are part of is cosmic or divine in nature. I love that definition. It was just like so well put, which is why we're reading definitions today. Oh man. So now that we have an understanding of the different, man, what word do I want to use there? Now that we have an understanding of kind of like the realm of Akashic Records and and the disciplines and philosophies that it encompasses. I want to get into clearing up some myths and misconceptions. And I think this timing is really perfect because I've had people recently ask me questions. And so I want to really be clear about what to expect and clear up some things that I think people have ideas about. And I know that there is a wealth of information about Akashic Records out there, but it's all over the place. So so let's just all get on the same page here on this amazing podcast that we're all listening to. Oh my gosh, water is delicious. All right. So the first misconception we're getting into is infallibility. There's a misconception that that Akashic Records readings are always completely accurate and that the readers are infallible. They do not make mistakes. They're just boop, perfect all the time. And while while I strive for accuracy, I do a lot of stuff to prepare for Akashic Records readings, to maintain a clear channel, to be aware of my biases, to be aware of my stuff. Like I actively put that aside and continue to do so throughout the reading to avoid any kind of inaccuracies. Because while practitioners like myself strive for accuracy, interpretations can still be influenced by our biases, our perspective, our level of skill, our energy that day. The readings can be impacted by a lot of different things. They can also be impacted by the person that you're reading for. If their energy is very closed off, anxious, extremely skeptical, it can also impede the flow of information, which is nobody's fault. I get nervous when I go into readings. I've had a bunch of readings and I still get nervous when I'm giving a reading, when I'm getting a reading, because you don't know what to expect. There's a lot of uncertainty there. And as somebody who has gotten and given a lot of readings, you really don't know what to expect. You never know what's going to come through. And you can go in with an idea of what you want to know and what you think you're going to get, and then get something completely different. So I have a story for this, and I really think it's important to talk about. So that's why I'm talking about it. So sometimes when information comes through during an Akashic Records reading, it sometimes it doesn't seem accurate. We all have our own beliefs about things, our own ideas, and we're human. We have expectations based on our experiences, based on what we want. And based on what we're used to, based on our current state of being, of thinking. And so sometimes when you come into a reading and ask a question, you feel like it's going to be like a this or that kind of answer sometimes, or maybe you're expecting a certain kind of information to come through. And what happens during an Akashic Records reading is, first of all, whatever information comes through was meant to come through for your highest good. So you could ask a question and expect a certain answer and get a totally different answer because the answer that your guides know that you actually need is different from the answer that you want or the answer that you think that you want. And so it's really important to go into readings with an open mind and understand that while many professional Akashic Records readers are very accurate, there is no guarantee that the information will be 100% accurate. And with that being said, the other part that I wanted to add to this is that because whatever comes up in an Akashic reading is meant for you in that moment, sometimes the way that your guides or your Akashic keepers, your loved ones, the way that they choose to communicate information to you is in a way that they know will get your attention, and they know that it'll either pique your interest, or basically when something gets your attention, it sticks with you, and you'll either remember it, it'll plant a seed, or you won't be able to let it go. It could rub you the wrong way. And so it's important to be open and revisit the reading. So I generally record my Akashic Records readings and then I email the recording to you afterward. And I always encourage people to listen to it at least 3 times because it's a lot of information to take in. Even if you were paying attention and taking notes, there's just your brain cannot absorb all of that information. Even if you feel like you are, there'll be like bits that just kind of like seep through the cracks. And as you go back and you listen, you might notice different things. You might see things differently. You might come upon new information because after you've listened to it a couple of times and you've gone about your life and maybe you've made some different choices, maybe you've grown, maybe you've had some other experiences that have opened you up. And at that point, you've evolved a little bit. And so then when you go back to the reading, the information feels different or you perceive it differently because in that moment, you're different from the moment that you got the reading. So just because information comes through that you're not expecting or that doesn't make sense to you at that point, it doesn't mean that it's wrong necessarily, although it can be, because like I said, nobody is perfect, nobody is infallible. But I urge you to consider that the way the information came through might make sense down the road, or maybe it came through that way to draw your attention to something that you're not yet recognizing. And your guides, the Akashic Records keepers, your whole team, they understand you and they know what you need for your highest good. Their jobs are to help to nudge you onto your path because we come down here and we forget everything. We forget who we are. We forget where we come from. We forget that we are eternal beings having a human experience. So we just feel like we're humans and we're here and we're doing our thing and it's all random. And our teams have our blueprint that we all decided together before we came down for the soul lessons that we wanted to learn, for the situations that we needed to get us to learn those lessons. And so our guides will nudge us and help us to get back onto course, get onto course. And so, yeah, it's helpful. It's just helpful to be open-minded. Okay. There's a lot more I could say about that, but I feel like that pretty much sums it up. So don't expect 100% accuracy, although Akashic Records readings, in my opinion, generally tend to be very accurate as far as my experience and as far as my experience doing readings for people and also getting readings. And I've gotten readings from multiple Akashic Records readers, and everybody has their own style, but everybody is usually pretty accurate because when you're an Akashic Records reader, you've practiced connecting with the Akashic Records and you're just interpreting the information that you're getting. And so if the information isn't making sense to the person receiving the information, the person getting the reading, it's not necessarily the reader's fault or the reader's responsibility to analyze it. We're just allowing that information to come through us so that we can share it with you. Okay, so that kind of leads me into the next point, which is, well, I guess it doesn't really lead me into the next point, but in my brain it does. So the next myth and misconception is that Akashic readings, Akashic Records readings are like fortune telling. So some people think that Akashic Records readings are purely for predicting the future. And while glimpses of potential futures may come up, the primary focus of an Akashic Records reading is usually to be able to understand the past and the present in order to empower personal growth and decision making. So an Akashic Records reading, while you can see potential probabilities for future outcomes and future timelines, future paths, all of that stuff, it doesn't, oh my gosh, sip of water. It doesn't mean that any of that stuff is set in stone. You always have free will. So I will never be able to be like, yes, 100% this will happen no matter what. Because your energy and the trajectory that you're on can change from moment to moment. We are energy. Everything is energy. Energy impacts energy. So if something in you changes, you could be on the same path, make the same choices, and then suddenly just wake up and have this epiphany and make a completely different choice than you would have yesterday. And that can completely change the trajectory of a situation or the path that you're on or the outcome of a situation. So I can usually give people a percentage of like the likelihood of certain things happening, but it's always a very, I want to say fuzzy or like a general thing because everything is up to you. And me giving you the probability, me giving you the potential situations, outcome, timelines, that is just to give you an idea. I am getting it from the records, but it's just to kind of give you an idea of like, look, these are your most likely options. This is how they could work out. And it's supposed to empower you to be able to choose your choices and decide how you want your energy to be so that you can create the outcome that you want. And sometimes hearing about the possibilities can be helpful. Sometimes it can make you hopeful if you hear different possibilities, and it can inspire you and motivate you to make certain choices, which will lead you down the road you want to go down. So keep that in mind. Akashic Records readings are not fortune-telling readings. It is, yeah, people generally, even the most amazing, most powerful, famous, super intensely gifted psychics will not always be able to predict your future 100% accurately. And it's because we have free will. That's the whole point of us being here. You can always choose something different. And from one moment to another, you can reinvent yourself and be a totally different person. Whew. All right. So the next one is exclusive access. There's a belief that only certain gifted individuals have access to the Akashic records, like people who are naturally gifted psychics. Um, and that's not necessarily the case. That's not the case at all. Anyone can access the Akashic records. The Akashic records are not this private library that nobody else is allowed into. Everyone can access the Akashic records. Some people have different access levels, I guess you can say. So let's say, I'm going to put it like this. Well, let me finish reading my notes. First of all, some people have a natural inclination or talent for accessing the information in the Akashic records, meaning if you've worked with the Akashic records in previous lives, then it'll be really easy or it'll be easier for you to kind of start getting into the Akashic records and it'll just happen faster. Think of it as like a quantum leap kind of a deal. That's what I experienced when I started getting into the Akashic records. I got into my way a lot. But when I finally got out of my way, it was like it was almost like it felt like I'd been doing it for a long time. And it was interesting because people would comment and be like, man, it feels like you've been doing this for a while and you're new at it, right? And I was like, yeah, I literally, I just started last month. It was the weirdest thing. So keep that in mind that if you are drawn to the Akashic records, if you are interested in the Akashic records, that is a sign that yes, maybe part of your soul purpose is to work with the Akashic records, whether that's using the records personally for you to find guidance to lead you through your life more confidently, or maybe it's reading the records of others and delivering messages to help people with their growth and understanding. I am going to emphasize that anyone can learn to access the records through training, practice, and spiritual development. And if you are interested, I definitely encourage you to explore that path. I was not always interested in the Akashic records. In 2020, I had my first really huge spiritual awakening, and my mom, I attribute it to her trying to wake me up because she woke up and then she was like, you've got to get on board with the spirituality train. And she was reading the Akashic records. She was doing soul realignment readings, which were really cool. And she would use a pendulum and give you a report and homework to find alignment and clear your stuff, which was really cool. And I didn't care. I didn't care about the records. I thought it was really cool. I wanted to hear about my reading. I thought that all the aspects that she was able to dive into as far as the types of information that the records hold. I thought that was cool, but I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm cool just letting you read my records and getting back to me, and I'll let you know what my questions are, and then you can just let me know what answers you get. But I at no point was like, ooh, maybe I could do that for myself. Nope, not even a little bit. I had zero interest in reading my own Akashic records until last year, 2023. I had another huge, like, intense spiritual awakening. Oh my gosh. And I started getting a bunch of readings because I was searching for answers and purpose and understanding and just answers, all the knowledge I could absorb. And I suddenly was like, oh my gosh, I want to read the Akashic Records. And it was such a strong urge. I was like, I want to do readings for people. This is what I want to do. And it came out of nowhere. That's not where I was at all. And then it just suddenly from one day to the next. And so I took level one, and it it was amazing. It was amazing. It was really cool to access that level of information. It was just, it's nice to know that that's there, readily available for anybody who wants help or guidance or wants to get into the records. You can. There's so much that we have access to. We're such powerful beings, and I think that so many of us have forgotten that and forget even after we've remembered. I think sometimes it's easy to forget the power that we have and all of the resources and tools we have at our disposal. All right. So the next misconception that I want to talk about is instant gratification. There is a misconception that Akashic Records readings provide quick fixes or immediate solutions to life's challenges. And while getting a reading can help you to put down your backpack of burdens and just feel relief from the stress of like being plagued by uncertainty or just wondering what the heck is going on in your life. What is going on with this relationship? Which decision should I make? Like, why do I hate my job? Why does this pattern keep happening in my life? You can find a lot of comfort, a lot of relief, a lot of satisfaction, healing, but at the same time, you don't always get immediate solutions and immediate fixes. You get information. You will often get insights from readings that can be really valuable and can help or propel your personal growth. They can inspire your personal growth and transformation. And generally, the information that you get in readings, it's like breadcrumbs. It's steps on your path. And so while you can get insights and they can be valuable, the personal growth and the transformation that's going to come from getting an Akashic Records reading usually requires ongoing effort and introspection beyond that one reading, which means taking time to integrate that information and reflecting and then checking in with yourself and then integrating again, seeing what comes up for you. Oh, there's a block. Okay, I should probably work on that block. If you want another reading to assess like how to work on that block, cool. But it's important that you're taking time to actually use the information, or at least really integrate and absorb the information that you're getting from a reading. The way that it works with divine guidance, your spirit guides. I get a lot of questions about communication with spirit guides and your spirit team. And the way that it works is, and same thing for readings, because I've had people who rely on readings and they don't want to do the outside work, like the work that happens outside of a reading once you get the information, and then they'll come back to a reading and they'll get the same information. And I'm just like, oh, I can't say anything about it because I'm just the messenger. And I think that can be frustrating sometimes because you want to feel you want to you always want to feel like you're moving forward, or at least I do. That's clearly my opinion. I always want to feel like I'm moving forward and growing. I don't like feeling stuck and stagnant. So take the information that you get. Oh, and back to what I was saying about spirit guides and your spiritual team. When your spirit team gives you, or when spirit gives you guidance, when you act on that guidance, or at least take a baby step in the direction of that guidance, that lets your team know, like, okay, she's ready. I can get, or he, she or he, they, that person is ready. I can give them more guidance. It's like a green light for them. However, if you continue to ignore the guidance and you don't act upon it, then they won't just keep on giving you more and more layers of that guidance. They're going to keep trying to get the messages across to you, because as they're giving you messages, they're like stepping stones. And so you've got to get that first message so you can get to the next stepping stone. So that's part of the reason that it's really important to integrate the guidance and insights that you're getting from Akashic Records readings, because as you act on that, those insights and guidance, that information, new guidance and information can come through about the next step on your journey, about the next action that you can take on your path, the next best thing for you to do. And your spiritual team is always going to love you. Your Akashic team, your Akashic Records keepers, nobody's going to judge you. Nobody gets mad if you're not listening to the guidance. It's just in your best interest. It's for your highest good. They're just there to help you. They love you. They want to support you. And yeah. So they basically act on your lead is how that goes. So if you want to communicate more with your spiritual team, pay attention to the guidance they're giving you, those inspired nudges, the hunches, the sudden inspiration, that thought that pops into your head where you're like, ooh, I think I want to do this, or I think this would really feel good. Like, your guides, your spiritual team communicate with you in an uplifting, supportive, loving way. It's always going to be stuff that's like for your highest and greatest good. And you always have the free will to act on it or to say, no, I'm good, thanks, cool, but I'm good. You can also ask if you're not a fan of the guidance they're giving you in that moment, like you don't feel comfortable doing that thing or taking that step, or you're like, oh, I'm really not interested in that, then you can ask for a different option, and then they can find a different way. Your spiritual team is not bound by the rules that we're bound by. There's no time. There's no linear time. There's none of the bull crap that we're dealing with. They can see the whole big picture. And so they can pivot if you express that you would like for them to pivot and give you different options. So I love that. When I learned that, I was like, oh, that's cool. So I don't just have to be like, no, I'm good, I don't want that guidance, and then just kind of be stuck there. You always have options. You can always ask them. And you can ask them just by having a conversation, like in your head, like, hey guys, hey spirit guides. You could say it out loud. You could just be in your closet getting dressed and be like, hey guys, which color am I wearing today? That'll let me know which chakra I'm feeding. What energy am I sending? What's my vibe? All right, and then a color will pop into your head, or maybe you'll hear a color, or your eyes will be drawn to a certain piece of clothing. It's really cool how your spiritual team works with you. So again, just keep an open mind. All right. And the last misconception that I'm going to go over is absolute determinism. There's a misconception that the Akashic Records depict a predetermined destiny that individuals are powerless to change. And I, along with many other practitioners, view the records as a reflection of potential paths and choices. Your free will always plays a significant role in shaping your life. And I spoke about this earlier in that, yeah, there is a plan. You have a plan for your life before you incarnate. You make that plan with your spiritual team, with your soul family, and with all the people, with everybody, with all the energies, all the friends. Ooh, sipping that cold ginger tea is not the business for me right now. What was I saying? That was really distracting. Let me take a sip of water because, ooh, and let me breathe because I am just talking, not breathing. Okay. Um, Free will plays a huge role. So just because you hear something in a reading does not mean that it is set in stone. You can hear guidance and insights, and sometimes you're like, that's not what I want, or nah, that doesn't feel right to me. And you have the free will to change your plan. People make soul contracts and plan things out for themselves, and then they get down here, or I don't want to say down here. I don't know why I'm saying that, like we're jumping down from this great beyond above us. Get down here. I never even thought about the fact that I say that. You can be here incarnated physically and then decide, ooh, I don't really want to work on that soul contract. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. Or I don't remember agreeing to this, and totally change your mind and not go through with a lesson that you plan for yourself. You can choose to be very stubborn and be like, I'm not learning that this time. I'm good. So nothing is set in stone. Nothing is predetermined to a permanent, in a permanent way. So take what resonates with you, leave what doesn't. You will never be forced into something that you're not a fan of. Because again, free will. Woohoo, we get to do whatever we want. So why not enjoy ourselves, you know? Why not? Why not? Alrighty. So we're gonna finish this off with some quick tips to help you get the most out of your readings. Because now that you understand some clarity around the misconceptions, around the myths, around the rumors floating around the interwebs, and maybe on social media and inner circles of people who weren't aware of these things, always keep an open mind and be discerning and understand that we all have our own unique experiences, and we all see through a lens of our experiences, our personality, our lives. So somebody else can say something. Social media is so fun because somebody can put an opinion out there like it's fact, and just because they had an experience, it doesn't mean that that is the experience and that that is just the end all be all for whatever it is. And I actually don't have any one thing in mind. I'm just saying it's important to keep an open mind. Listen to your own internal compass. Oh my gosh, what is my weird accent? I don't even know what accent that was. Listen to your internal compass, your intuition, what feels good to you, what feels right to you. Just because a thought leader says something, that might be what's best for them. That could even be what's best for a lot of people, but it might not be what's best for you. So always check in with yourself. Now to actually get to these tips that I was going to talk about. I mean, that should be one of my tips. It just wasn't on my list, but that's okay. I can add new things to my list. So I think it is on my list actually, because my first one is come with an open mind. You never know which direction a reading is going to go or what kind of information you're going to get. You could go in thinking that you're going to talk about your spirit guides and what their names are, and instead find out that you have a soul mission to use energy healing on children or something. You know what I mean? Like, so keep an open mind. You could also go in asking about a relationship and end up finding about some really deep wounds that you're ready to heal and just didn't realize. So, oh, Akashic Records readings can be so profound, but they can be really fun, and they can be very lighthearted and funny and just a really good time. Okay, so the next tip is try to be receptive to the messages that come through and trust that they're for your highest good. So kind of piggybacking off of the last thing that I said, whatever comes through in a reading is specifically for you. And the way that it comes through is specifically for you. The words used, the imagery, excuse me, the vibe, it's all for you. So be aware of that is what I'm going to say. And just try to be as open and receptive as you can to the stuff that's coming through. It is okay if you're not. I think it's helpful if you are receptive. And even if you're not, the information that needs to come through will come through. And like I said, you can always revisit the recording later. And if you don't want to and you just want to delete the recording, that's cool too. Free will. We're all about free will here. And again, take the next tip, third tip here, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. If something happens in a reading, something comes through in a reading and you're like, no, then leave it. Leave that. Move on to the next thing. Move on to something else that felt good or that made sense or that really did resonate with you, and focus on that. Because again, if there's something that resonates with you, that does make sense, that does provoke some contemplation on your part, or does spark an interest or inspire you to do something or point something out that maybe you weren't aware of, If there's something that does draw your attention or does resonate with you, then focus on that. And the last tip I'm going to share is take time to integrate the information after a reading. Go back, listen to the recording, listen to it a couple of times as you feel called to. You might not want to listen to it for 6 months or a year, but you also might want to listen to it 3 or 4 times within a month. So take time and listen to how you're feeling. If it pops into your head like, hey, maybe I should listen to that recording, that may very well be your spiritual team nudging you like, hey, it's time. You might have a different perspective now, so hearing the information again will yield different information, different results, a different feeling. Maybe the stuff that didn't resonate with you before will resonate with you now. New things may arise as you heal, grow, and evolve. So listen to the recording as you feel called to, or go back to your notes as you feel called to do so. So in summary, understanding, let's wait. Oh, I was looking at my notes, but I didn't want to like read them, and I was trying to kind of like ad lib it and be all smooth, and it ended up not being smooth. So overall, understanding Akashic Records readings requires an open mind, a willingness to explore spirituality beyond conventional boundaries, and a healthy skepticism to discern genuine insights. We made it. We made it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to seeing you on social media. Hope you reach out, say hey, and until next time, go forth, evolve, learn, be open, and just have fun. Enjoy your lives. Let's enjoy our lives. All right, guys. Until next time, I'll see you next time.